S.O.S podcast brought to you by the Who You Know Network. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S lifeline. We have a great one for you today. And I'm telling you that not only because I've talked with this individual personally. I know Eric has had a long-standing relationship with this person, but in just the 5 minutes before we started recording, we have been laughing hysterically. This is going to be so much fun. I'm glad you're tuning in today. We're lucky to have Aleha Ingle with us today, and we're looking forward to all the great things that she's got going on and all the information she's going to tell us. Eric, back together again today. How are you doing?
Brother, I am ecstatic. I am so excited to be talking to one of the rosiest, most riveting people I've ever met. Do you see what I did there? Do you see what I did there? Yes.
He's been holding on to that all morning.
Yep. I bet you he was up all night writing that. But that is awesome and a great description. So we're not going to waste any time. I want to provide all the time in the world here to Aleha, so we're going to jump right into the introduction and get going. Aleha is the owner of the Work Culture Works, a consulting agency built to help managers create healthy, safe work environments in order to reduce turnover and increase that bottom line. Aleha is an experienced professional with a passion for developing and improving workspace culture. Her career journey began with the United States Air Force, where she gained valuable experience in multiple career fields, giving her a unique perspective into differing work cultures within the same organization. While in the Air Force, prepared a copy, Aleha earned 3 master's degrees, 2 bachelor's degrees, and 6 associate's degrees, all focusing on the concepts of human resources, innovation, leadership, and workplace culture. After 21 years in the military, she retired and began pursuing her doctorate in leadership and education in healthcare at Nebraska Methodist College. Aleha, single-handedly, I think you are keeping the higher education in business. It's fantastic, and as someone who has a lot of degrees, I appreciate the continuing thirst for knowledge. But besides that, we are so happy to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. We've been trying to do this for quite a while. I'm happy that we've finally been able to connect and get together.
Absolutely. Real excited to have you on here. Let's jump right into it. So you did 21 years. So you're a veteran. You have that love of the veterans already. But what made you start to want to even help in the transition space at all? What led your path here?
Well, it's interesting because, most of us go through a more difficult time through our transition than we expect to go through. Most of us experience a much rougher transition. My transition, however, was extremely unique because I dropped my notice right in the middle of COVID.
Nice.
So we had no resources. I had nothing. We had TAP, but that was online CBTs, and that's even when it is in person, it's not giving you what you need to begin with. So especially when you convert it to CBTs, I got nothing out of that. So I was put in a position where I was forced to go find the information myself. And as you've mentioned, I am a learner. And so if I don't understand something, if I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just going to go figure it out for myself. I'm going to go find all the resources I can possibly find and become an expert in it myself. And that is what I ended up doing, just trying to get my own transition completed. And in the process, I ended up helping so many other people. And I became a part of this community that I didn't even know existed. And so when I was done, when I finally hit that retired date and I said, all right, well, I guess I still have all this information. What am I supposed to do with it? I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to stay in this community because this is exactly where we get the information that we need to succeed. It's not going to be TAP, and it's not going to be anything that they give us as the mandatory requirements. It's going to be when we get out here and start helping each other.
Absolutely. And I think the one thing I heard it explained a couple of times by a couple of different people who've come on the show, and they talk about how TAP is like that minimum PT score. It gives you the very basic stuff. And some instructors are better than others. We all know that.
Yep.
I was blessed to have one course I took where the instructor was phenomenal and went above and beyond. Probably broke several laws doing that. But beside the point, it is exactly what you said. It's that bare minimum, and then there's so much more out there. And the fact that what you did is the same thing, Eric. I know we've heard multiple times on the show. You take ownership of your transition, and that made the difference in all of that. And I know, Eric, you've talked about that numerous times.
Yeah, but Aleha, what you said is, and I know you are an incredible human being. You've got a heart to give, but what you said is right. We can't just sit back, right? We can't just hold on to all this information, because when we look behind us and we look at the next folks coming through, they're struggling. We're not,
Yes.
I hate to say it, but we're not unique in our struggle, right? The circumstances might be unique, but we all kind of struggle.
Yes.
So we have to be able to share that information. We have to be able to get it to the next person, because we are who we can count on.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I'm personally thankful that I've got family like you in this space that I know I can count on, that when I am struggling, I can reach out to. You and I have known each other for a while. You're a huge advocate for our community. And I love watching that. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think Eric just ended the interview. Okay.
Yeah. Mic drop.
We're done. All right. So obviously you have a thirst for knowledge. And this is coming from someone who has a lot of degrees to wallpaper the wall as well. What made you go after 11 degrees? Well, 12, because you're pursuing a doctorate as well.
Honestly, it was a combination of, I still had no idea what I wanted to do when I grew up. All the way up until retirement, I still had no idea. So I just kept going back and learning something new. But there's also that aspect of, as a member of the military, we have a lot of educational resources that will pay for school for us. And I am not somebody that likes to waste resources. So if I see an opportunity, I'm taking it. So between resources and just being lost, here I am.
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything you just said. And I sort of viewed the last couple of years I was in the service with the COOL program in the Army and the certifications. I got tons of certifications over because I didn't waste that money. I didn't waste the resource. Went after it, trying to figure out who I wanted to be. Yeah. So I can't disagree at all with that. How about you, Eric?
No, I grew up, you clean your plate, right? You clean your plate, you eat all your beans, you finish the peas, whatever it is, like you clean your plate, and there's so much out there for us.
Yeah.
It is easy. I think, and Aleha, I think you'll attest this. Like it's easy to get bogged down and kind of get overwhelmed with all of the things that are out there. But you have done such a great job of becoming, and I have said this, I will say this till my dying breath. You have done such a great job of becoming the CEO of your transition. You have taken charge of your transition, right? Yeah. And people who are in charge of things don't waste things, right? Because we've got skin in the game.
That too. Yeah. And my transition in particular was so difficult that I thought there's no way it should be this bad. I'm not the first person to ever retire out of the Air Force. There's no reason it should be this difficult. How many people have gone through this and no one has streamlined this yet? Come on. So yeah, that's why I did it.
Yeah. I remember
I went through.
I remember having that thought as I was retiring. I went through the exact same thing. How could I possibly be so successful for 25 years only to fumble the ball on the 5-yard line with 10 seconds left in the game? Like, how am I the only one that's jacking this up?
Yep.
But that's the realization, is that there's so many of us out there that are struggling. There's so many of us out there that don't know what's next because we've become so accustomed to what we've done. Whether it's been 4 years or 34 years, we've become accustomed. We're in this institutionalized way of thinking. And now the shackles are taken off, and that freedom is the most rewarding and freeing thing and the most terrifying thing in the world.
Yep. All in
So
one.
how do you think, what do you think was what was your aha moment? What was that moment where you just went, that's it. That's the light bulb has come on and I've got an idea of how this is supposed to go now. What was that moment for you?
Well, I guess I can tell you for just my personal story of how I got to Work Culture Works. And that was that I did what everyone else does. I prepared myself to slide right into a job somewhere, anywhere, big corporation, didn't matter. And I did really great. I did everything all of these agencies told me to do. I nailed that job. They wanted me. And I got in there and I was this rock star. And for 4 months, I said, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. Why did I do this? I am not doing this anymore. I'm out. And I dropped the notice. I did everything that I was told to do. And then after 4 months, I realized I'm not happy. This work culture is toxic. It's worse than anything I've ever been in. I got to get out of here. So I left. Then I went and found another job. Did exactly what I was told to do again, right? I did the interview. I targeted that resume. I nailed it. I was the rock star they wanted me. I got in there 3 months later. I'm like, this is the second stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. Why am I doing this to myself? Because I'm not following what my needs are anymore. Because we have been taught to do what the gander needs, right? We've been doing what the team needs. And we're doing exactly what we're told. And we're very good at doing exactly what we're told. What we suck at is stopping and saying, wait a minute, I don't have to do what I'm told anymore. What makes me happy? Where is my goal landing at? That is the moment.
So many of us get caught in that moment, right? Because we think that we just have to have a job. I'm leaving service. I have to do something. I have to work. I have to have a job. And so we land in the wrong culture. We land at the wrong position. We land at the wrong, the wrong level or the wrong salary, the wrong location. And honestly, that's where people like you come in, is to kind of help us figure that out, right? Is to that's where this podcast is. So that's what we want to do with this, is we want to get the word out that it's yours.
Yes.
Right? What is your why? It's yours. And that is one of the hardest things I think some of us have to do, is once we shed that uniform, is figure out what my identity is now. It has been wrapped up in service and in God, country, and core. And it has been wrapped up in all the lickies and chewies on our walls and our uniforms and our badges and but what makes me happy?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm so glad you found it.
Once you find that, you're going to continue going through that cycle over and over and over again.
Yep.
Until you figure out what makes you happy.
God bless. We're going to run out of knowledge bombs. I'm just going to drop another one. We're going to run out of
It's such a valuable point and so important. Because every one of us, I'm not going to say we all do it, because I've definitely talked to some people who are fighting the system the whole way and struggling, instead of at least listening to some advice. But, I'm just like you in the sense that, I did everything I was supposed to do for the transition. I did the internship. I landed a job out of the internship. I had another program I applied for, got a job offer out of there. So I had 2 offers at the same time. Just how they draw it up like John Madden on the whiteboard, exactly how you're supposed to do it. And then, right now I'm blessed that the work culture I'm in is not like the one you described. So I can't complain there. I am not complaining about my job. But at the same time, you have to make sure you are happy. And that was the one thing I left transition with in my mind, is I don't care what the job is. I really don't, as long as I'm happy. If I can go to work every day, I enjoy the people I'm around, I enjoy the work we're doing. I mean, work is work, but you can still enjoy it. And I don't want to come home and kick the dog. Then maybe that is. no, ultimately, I think taking that leap like you did, and I think we're leading right into work culture works, I think is that next level of happiness. And I'd love to hear why you started Work Culture Works.
Oh yeah. So I guess at that point, or I had finally quit that second job, I said, I just went back and looked at my own resume for a second. I said, why did I do these things? Why did I focus on these topics? And throughout my military career, I got a degree in HR because I wanted to be a better manager. I got a degree in technology management because I wanted to be better at innovation. And so all of these things kind of pointed all towards the same thing. And I realized I am a work culture expert. Like everything I know, everything I breathe, everything I'm obsessed with about learning all leads to improving work culture. And so rather than trying to go into these big corporations and become a part of something, why don't I start it from the ground up myself? And then I started looking into the industry, and we all know that everybody has had a bad boss. We've all had bad management, bad teams, bad environments, whatever the case is. But when I started researching it, 85% of civilian work centers are considered toxic. 85%.
Wow.
And as soon as I found that, I said, yep, that's it. I got to do this. This is where my need is. This is exactly where I can help. And so I'm, it's interesting because I'm extremely risk averse. I've never had any intention of ever being an entrepreneur a day in my life. But that day when I saw 85%, and then I looked over at my resume, I said, this is obvious. This is exactly where this needs to go. So May 26th, I opened the doors.
And look at what you're doing for our community, right? Look what you're doing for your brothers and sisters, because you're not only do you spend a ton of time helping them as they transition, but now you are inside of organizations, inside of the culture fixing. You're not just talking about the issue, you're a part of the solution for the issue, and you're creating great landing pads for the people who are coming in and trying to find employment. You're creating great work environments so that people like me can go find a job, do not have to have the same experience you had in your first two jobs, can find a non-toxic, a culture of, collaboration and diversity of thought and all of these things. And we can have this, and I can come out and now I can thrive. Because I'm going to tell you, Aleha, I don't have an entrepreneurial bone in my body either. That's not something you're ever going to see Eric Brew do. Right? I like having a structure of an organization.
Yeah, me too.
So, yeah. So I appreciate you, sis. What?
I just think about, when I started my transition 2 years ago, that's when you and I met. You were actually the first person I ever met in my transition. And when I think about that 2 years ago and today, night and day. You and I we've seen so many success stories since then, and I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
And I have loved seeing where you've gone, what you've walked through, and where you are now. It is so fun to watch our siblings succeed. Right? It's so fun to sit back and go,
yeah,
that's what they should have been doing. I remember when I watched you launch and I was like, yep, that's exactly where she should have been the whole time. So, okay. So tell us, what is it? How do I want to phrase this? Tell us what an organization can expect by bringing you on board and helping us fix our culture.
Yeah. So I currently offer 3 different packages, and it really just depends on, well, it depends on a lot of factors. It depends on the size of your company, and it depends on how deep you want me to go. So the first package, I can come in and I can just give very generalized basic training to your managers and your employees, because from the way I deliver my information, the reason it's different from regular leadership training is I look at it from an employee perspective. I don't come in and tell your leaders what your leaders should be doing to get what they need, because it's never about what they need. It's been about the employees from the very beginning. So when I come in and I provide that training, I say, as an employee, this is how you foster positive work culture. As a manager, this is how you foster positive work culture. And as a senior leadership team member, CEO, C-suite, whatever, you aren't off the hook either. This is how you ensure foster positive work center. And so that's just like the very generalized training. And then I also offer an option where I come in and I do my investigation. You basically just let me loose in your company for a week and I'll walk around. I'll ask questions. I'll do interviews. I'll observe. I'll probably just sit and just watch for a day and see how people interact with each other, pick up on those idiosyncrasies that people may not necessarily be willing to verbalize to me. And then there's a third package that I have finally laid down and mastered. And that is basically, I go in as an employee and I get the inside scoop. And then I come back in 2-3 weeks with the employee's perspective. And I tell you exactly where the problem is and how to fix it. I'm not going to hold your hand. All I can do is tell you exactly what you need to do to fix it. It'll be up to you if you want to do it or not.
Undercover boss.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I'm picturing, I'm like, okay, so Aleha's a pretty recognizable human being. I'm thinking, like, are we talking disguises?
Yeah, I'm doing all of it. You know, you never know how many wigs I've got in that closet.
So you're explaining this, and the thing that's going through my mind is the movie Office Space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many times you sit down and talk with an employee and you get the conversation, you know, I got 7 bosses, Bob.
Yeah. And that's a problem. That's a problem. Yeah.
So as a transitioning service member who maybe is not walking into an organization who has been blessed by aligning themselves with yours, right?
Right.
So tough
Right.
organizations. What advice do you give us? What things do we look out for? What are the things that we should be, or better yet, and I'm going to change my question, as we're doing informational interviews, right? As we're trying to learn about the cultures of organizations before we take the plunge,
Yeah.
What should we be looking for? What should we be asking?
You should ask, what does your recognition program look like?
Okay.
You should ask things like, do you have a career development plan for your employees?
Yeah. And I think a lot of us don't know that. A lot of organizations have, they've got, what do you call it? Educational benefits, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they have through the HR department. You can get your educational benefits. What is that? I'll tell you one thing that I'm a big fan of asking, and I know you recognize this, is what is your veteran onboarding process?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
What's your veteran ERG look like? What's the health of it? Is it relevant?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I think it's really important to also keep in mind that as veterans, we come from a world that civilians they don't understand the culture that we come from. I guess that's the best way to describe it. We come from a world of do what I say. I don't have to tell you why. You just do it. And we can't go into a civilian job and say that to people. We cannot go out there and say, go do this because I said so. That's not how this works. So as managers, yes, we might have been very effective in the military. May not work for us so well outside. So we have to keep ourselves in check with that as well.
And I think that's where it becomes so important to become bilingual, right? To be able to speak that language of civilianese, right?
Yes.
Because and it's not just that, right? Like, I think we all want to high five each other when a veteran, finds employment or they get a job or they start their own thing. But getting a job, that's really where the real work begins. How do I integrate into a new team, right? If I'm a senior person in the military and I come out and I take a job and I'm a senior leader in an organization, or I'm a leader in an organization, how do I recognize what talent looks like when it doesn't look the same as it did for 20 or 30 years?
Yep.
I knew what talent looked like in the Army. I knew what a solid junior leader looked like in the Army. I could pick them out like this.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that John and Jane are going to look the same, but that doesn't mean they're not talented.
No, exactly. And a lot of recruiters actually say that. They say it's not necessarily about the skills, it's about the character.
Correct.
So I don't care that he has the degree on his resume. Does he have the empathy that I'm looking for in a leader?
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, that's a huge point. And if we can make everybody just wear black shiny boots, it'd make it easier to come out.
Right.
If we just spit shined our shoes, we would know who cared.
It's the simple things that made life easy. So, believe it or not, we're already coming down to the end.
Oh, wow.
Which I don't know why we didn't book this for 2 episodes, because we probably knew well in advance this was going to be full of information and a lot more to come still. But that's good. That means you got to come on again.
Part 2.
But the one thing we like to do is ask, well, first of all, we got all your information scrolling across the bottom, so people can reach out to you. They can get in touch with you. They can follow you. They can connect with you on LinkedIn. You need to do it if you're not connected with Aleha. She is filled with information, and she's willing to help, which is just absolutely amazing. But the thing we want to do, and we ask every guest this, is what do you want to leave our audience with?
Don't be afraid to ask for help. We've been doing what we've been doing for so long that we think we're supposed to be able to do this on our own. And we've been told 100 times in our career, you should know this. Well, I don't. So now what? Will you help?
I love it. Ask for help. That's like one of the hardest things we have to do, isn't it? Like take a step back and give ourselves permission to not have all the answers. And then to be able to take the power back and go find them. Yeah. And go find the experts, go find the people. Listen, for those of you listening, if you are not connected with following, listening to every word that drops out of this person's mouth, you are a fool. You have got. I am a huge fan. I'm a believer. I don't know, Aleha, you are one of those people that you have got. Like, people have got to start. They got to stop for a minute and just listen, because you offer so much value and such a wealth of experience. You have fallen down. You've scraped your knee. You have landed poorly. You've gotten up. You've dusted yourself off. Right? And you carried yourself forward, and you didn't do that alone. You are the model of don't do it alone.
Yeah.
So I am so incredibly proud of you, sis. I am so happy that you are my family. I thank you for being on the show. I thank you for taking time. I know it takes time out of your day, and I know you're doing 1,000 other things, but we really appreciate you being here. Man, it's been a blast. It's been a blast. Sean, any last thoughts?
I just want to remind everybody that this episode started with Aleha saying she did everything she was supposed to do and landed the job, and then it still didn't work out. Okay, things didn't align correctly. It's important to make sure that you're not only doing the things you're supposed to be doing, but also really learning your why and pursuing that, because that is a big factor there. Aleha, amazing. Great stuff. Really enjoyed having you come on the show today, and definitely looking forward to bringing you back on for part 2, because that's going to be absolutely dynamite.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna have to go back and count our knowledge bombs here, Sean. I may have an inkling this might have set a record today, so we're gonna have to go back and count how many we had.
We might just have to add in more footage of her, because there's so many bombs blocking everything.
That's right. All right. Well, thank you again, Aleha, for being here. Listen, thank you everyone for tuning in to the VET S.O.S. podcast. Remember, don't drown in a sea of transition. Grab the SOS lifeline. Y'all have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.